Welcome to the Same Day Podcast, where we discuss driving incremental business growth and other topics related to real estate, property management, and entrepreneurship. Now to the show at hand.
Matt Zalk here. I'm the host of the Same Day Podcast, where I connect with top business experts and real estate leaders. Past guests include Devin Howland talking about economic development in Fayetteville, Arkansas, a very, very interesting market all along the Northwest Arkansas corridor. We also had Elliot Nelson from McNally's Group discussing community development through restaurants and bars in Tulsa and Oklahoma City. Today's episode is brought to you by Keyrenter Property Management. At Keyrenter Property Management, we are a full-service property management company helping you, our clients, buy, renovate, and operate real estate assets. We help our clients build wealth while taking the headache out of property management. Doesn't matter what rentals you have, single-family homes, condos, townhomes, apartments, we have the management solutions that you need. Go to keyrenterpmc.com or email us at info@keyrenterpmc.com. Today's guest is Andy Gurczak. He's the founder of AllCity Adjusting, a licensed public adjusting firm with a focus on making sure that their clients get what they truly deserve from their insurance claims. Over the last decade, Andy has not only protected thousands of people from being defrauded, but he also has helped them receive more money than what their insurance companies initially offered. Andy grew up with the family motto, if you're getting to do something, do it right. If you're going to do something, do it right or don't do it at all. And he keeps that sentiment in his current business, AllCity Adjusting. You can find out more about Andy at allcityadjusting.com. Andy, welcome to the show. We're so happy that you're here.
Man, thank you so much for having me on, man.
So in our world, in property management, a huge portion of our clients are investors. Some of our clients have moved out of their house. They have one home. They didn't intend to own real estate, but they do now because they like the interest rate. They maybe like the asset class. They heard a podcast where somebody said having real estate is a good way to build wealth over time. But many of our clients are people that own 1, 2, 5, 10, sorry, I shouldn't say 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 houses. They don't know how public claims adjusters works and what kind of claims a company like AllCity could help them navigate. Can you just give us a background on what public adjusters do and what sort of claims they work on?
Yeah. So if you rewind a little bit back, you have to look at it back as like the insurance company. So the insurance company has their own adjusters, their own agents, their own vendors, contractors. So like everyone that works for them that's getting paid for them. So their interest is the insurance and their bottom dollar, right? Yeah. And then you have you, and you're going up against billion-dollar industry of, they have, again, their own attorneys. They're in the business to make money, not just collecting premiums. So if you take and accept an offer from them and it's low, it's a win for them. Listen, everyone benefits on their side. So then there's a division called public adjusters in each state, and majority of the states, there's some states that don't license public adjusters. And then we represent the insured. So we advocate for the insured. We represent them on their claim from start to finish, basically. When it comes to any kind of coverage, anything in their policy, we can negotiate, we can settle it, we can work the entire claim.
And does that mean that the homeowner or the investor, the insured, kind of takes a step back, doesn't need to be involved, and just knows that AllCity is going to work on their behalf and their best interest, and they're going to collect a larger check theoretically at the end of the process?
Yeah, all of the above. Yeah, they don't. Everything goes through us. All the discussions, all the negotiations, which helps, right? Because when we're calling in the claim now, if the insurance company wants to ask something that's going to be maybe detrimental to the claim, right? We can filter through and say, hey, Matt, they're asking for this. Let's make sure we answer it the right way.
Right. Because
the wrong answer can end up getting your claim delayed and ultimately denied. So to avoid all that, hence why we're taking over communication. And some adjusters will go, well, no. I can still call your insured. No, you can't. Once we're hired, you can't be calling them, but they still try to behind our back. So we always prep our clients and say, hey, you'll still probably get a call from an adjuster or someone because they'll want to talk, try to go behind our backs. It's very normal.
Wow.
And standard.
Does it make sense then for example, our clients that have multiple properties to build a relationship with AllCity before a claim actually happens so that they know inevitably if you have 20 houses, there's going to be a fire, there's going to be a flood, there's going to be something that insurance needs to get involved in. Does it make sense for somebody to actually develop a relationship with you before the claim or just call when they have a claim inevitably?
Yeah. So you want it would be here. Listen, in the perfect world, everyone would call before any claim, have us look at their policies, make sure they have the right coverage, make sure they're all set. And when the claim happens, they already have us, have us ready on speed dial. So we could check it out. Because again, we might go in and say, hey, man, we looked at your policy. This is a claim that's probably, you have a couple shingles missing, but because you have a high deductible or you have this kind of endorsement or exclusion, it's not worth filing a claim. Don't even call, right? Because it's not going to be detrimental to the claim. So again, yes, we're going to filter through and make sure that if we file a claim, it's going to be a good decision, and you're going to come out in the best scenario when it's all said and done.
I mean, because even if you file a claim and the insurance company denies it for an exclusion, that filing is still on your record, right? I mean, when they go to review whether they want to reinsure you or not reinsure, because that's an insurance term, but like insure you again, up your policy again, they're going to see that you have a claim filed, even if zero was paid out. Is that right?
Yeah, and they're going to go, they were at your home, right? They were at your property. They took photos, and now they're going to say, hey, everything is so outdated, or the roof is old. Has to be updated. And now they're going to drop you, or no insurance is going to pick you up until you do all these things. Yeah. Right? Now you might have, or your premium might be higher. So you have to be careful. There's a lot of, if you're going to file a claim, you have to make sure that it's a legit claim, that it's going to be paid, that it's worth, that after your deductible, after everything, that you're going to come up with a good settlement.
Yeah. On the side of the insurance, you mentioned that the adjusters work for the insurance company, and they're incentivized to make profit for the insurance company in the end. If an insurance adjuster gives out too much money from the perspective of the insurance company, do they eventually get fired, repurposed, do something else? Do you have any sense of that? I mean, is it inherently unfair, and the people that are more fair don't do the job very long, or is there some?
I don't think there's ever been an adjuster that's paid too much on a claim. So I don't think they'll ever have an issue with that. It's, they can train, and now where it's going is the insurance company using third-party vendors and using independent contractors, because again, they can push all the liability on those, right? It's not the insurance now, it was our vendor, it was our independent contractor. That's kind of the route that it's going. And then they're telling them, hey, we don't pay for this. There's all these guidelines, right? They'll always say, Andy, we're not paying for this damage. Why? Well, because we don't pay for this. I'm looking at the policy. If you tell me what page, no problem. We're in agreement, in agreement. But we're in a policy where it's just the guidelines. Well, the guidelines don't supersede the policy. So they're trying to create all these guidelines. And, and if you're on your own as a homeowner or an investor landlord, you're dealing with this, you don't know any better. You're going to be, okay, well, if you're not paying for this, it is what it is. What do I do? Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I've heard of long and protracted claims happening where, let's just give an example. It's a loss happens in January. There's, a bunch of delays. You're looking for police reports that the police department won't send. You got to get a fire report from somebody, whatever else. And the claim ultimately pays out partly in, call it April. And then by the end of June, because we're sitting here at the end of June, the policy still's not fully paid out. Is it too late, or when is it too late for an investor to be reaching out to a public adjuster to help fight on their behalf?
Most claims you have 2 years from the date of loss. So most policies, depending on the state, you have a year to 2 years from the date of loss. But it's never, again, even if you don't know, hey, when did this claim happen? It doesn't hurt to call and ask, hey, we had a claim. Can you look at this? Is it too late? Right? If it's too late, we'll tell you. We'll take a look at it. But the quicker you get in, the easier, right? Because the worst, when we get involved and you call us and it's 6 months after a fire or a claim's happened, it's been 6 months. Well, now we have to play detective, right? What did you say for 6 months? Who got involved? We're involved in this big, this is like 30 units more. It's a big complex in Iowa. And this happened in December. So June, about 6-7 months, it's going into 7 months now. The first, when we got hired about 2 months ago, we've spent most of the time dealing with the adjuster, and you're trying to figure out what happened before we got involved. Well, we're trying to get more money. This is what we know, but he's the adjuster, the insurance company is telling us, hey, well, we already had all these people out here. The insured already told us all this. This is information we didn't have. So now it makes it difficult for us to even get $1 more.
Sure.
Right. Even though we have such a big delta and they owed it to the insured, we would have got this, there was a $600,000 delta. If we were involved from the beginning, we're 90% getting that for the insured. Now we're hoping we at least get 45-50% of that delta.
Yeah. So it's
because
important.
A lot has happened before us. So
it sounds like it's important to get involved early with a public adjuster. if somebody's not going to get involved with the public adjuster early, I would say that it sounds like the less they tell is better until they get an adjuster. But insurance companies want to see the site of the damage kind of from the start. It'd be hard. So it sounds like they just need to get.
So you have to allow them to see the site, right? Because per your policy, you have to allow them to inspect as many times with whoever they want. Like that's in your policy. So you can't say, don't come to my property or don't like, you have to allow them to properly investigate the claim.
Yeah. Yeah. Super interesting. So, I mean,
and remember that, and the biggest thing, Matt, is in the policy, the proof of burden is on the insured, right? So it's on you to prove the damage, not on them. So it's not their job to come in and say, we owe you $100,000. No, it's on you to prove to them that they owe you $100,000. So unless you've been, in this industry for 10, 15 years, doing adjusting claims, how are you going to prove that?
I mean, realistically, I've been in the industry for 10 as in property management, and I don't think I've spoken with a public adjuster before. That has highlighted to me all this stuff. So we have 1,000 clients that have 2,600 rental properties, and I don't think we've ever recommended to one of our clients that's had a loss, you need to go talk to a public adjuster. So very powerful stuff, and it's just not common knowledge that this industry exists, that somebody's here to represent the interests of the insured to ward off the predations of the insurance company, frankly. So really interesting. Yeah. What's the average?
So we work just like you, Matt. Basically, it comes down to the client, right? They're going to look back as, I can manage my own property. What do I need, Keyrenters for? I can do it on my own, or I can pay a fee, right? Pay whatever fee it is and whatever the compensation is, and I don't have to worry about managing my buildings, collecting rent, getting there's a million benefits, right?
Yeah.
For what? For a small fee. So you have to look at this. I can pay a small fee, and now I'm going to work out, not only get paid a lot more, where I'm going to pay contractors, I'm going to have money left over. No, I'm going to get my claim actually paid. These days, it's, most of the claims we're seeing are getting denied, they're getting delayed. There's so many things that they're doing to protect money that it's going to get, and it's going to only get worse for the insured.
Yeah. What's the average size of the claim a public adjuster like AllCity would work on?
Yeah, we work on claims usually about 100,000 and up. We specialize in fire, water, hurricane. We don't do much storm damage unless it's like a commercial building. Mm-hmm. But any residentials we don't. Now, don't say, because now we actually have an investor who owns in Michigan City, Indiana. They were hit with a huge hail. 9 of their properties got hit. Single families at the Airbnb. Again, they've been our clients. We're going to help them, and we're going to work the claims for them, of course.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. Is there anything you mentioned already? Kind of getting a public adjuster to review your policies, but anything else that an investment property owner can do before a claim happens to ensure that they get maximal coverage when a claim inevitably does arise?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I could recommend is finding a good agent. If you can find an agent that specializes in whatever you're investing in, whether it's multi-units, commercial, Airbnbs, if you find a good agent that actually understands policies. We went to look at yesterday. We had a fire yesterday. It's a gym owner. The gym burnt. Yeah. He's just the owner of the gym, not the building. He's way underinsured by at least half, if not more than half. He's got actual cash value policy plus 80% co-insurance clause. So out of that $400,000, because the loss is going to exceed over his value, he might get half. He's just screwed left and right.
Yeah,
it's the worst policy I've ever seen.
So actual cash value, just for people that don't know, is what if he paid $100,000 for a $400,000 building, he's insured for $100,000, as opposed to replacement cost would be, I paid $100,000, but the building is worth $400,000, so the replacement cost of the building today, replacing it with the cost of lumber,
correct,
and contractors, is $400,000. Is that right?
100%. That's 100%. And what does it cost to replace right now? Yes.
And what is the 80% co-insurance?
So co-insurance is a penalty that the insurance company puts on you if you're underinsured. So he should have been insured. If he's $400,000, he should have been insured for at least $800,000 to $1 million. So he's going to get hit with the penalties. That means he needs to have 80% of the insured to value. And if you do the math, he's going to get hit with maybe a 50% penalty. Well, what's 50% of $400,000? $200,000 plus your deductible. So now we got to mess around with the numbers. Make sure that penalty, the co-insurance penalty, we can minimize that as much as possible. So it's a tricky situation. So we looked at that policy, and I look back, I'm like, who's your agent? How can an agent sell you this policy? Because probably for $1,000 more in a premium a year, you would have had everything
Properly insured.
So
yeah. On that note, I mean, there are captive agents like a farmer's insurance or a state farm insurance, and then there are freelance agents. I forget what they're called, where they can sell a whole bunch of different independent.
Yep.
Do you have a recommendation in general from what you've seen in your industry, whether to go with an independent or a captive agent?
No, not really. You kind of, I mean, I'm not going to say a story. We were insured with for all our rentals with my wife, with a captive agent, local agent, who's been an agent for 20 something, 30 years.
Yeah.
I look at the rentals, and eventually, I look at the policies. They sent us the policies. We got insured. We bind it. And a couple of months later, I'm looking at them. I'm like, hey, why is law and ordinance, which is a big coverage? We have older buildings, so law and ordinance coverage. Yeah,
what is it?
Law and ordinance is law and ordinance.
Law and ordinance. Okay, wow, never heard of that.
So meaning, let's say you have a fire, and now everything that's all the insulation, electrical is not up to code. Well, you're gonna have an endorsement that covers all that upgrades that now needs to be done, right?
Yeah,
huge. That's a huge, and it's very cheap. But it's a huge endorsement, right? So State Farm, I don't know, was it a year ago? They used to be standard it is standard on homeowners, but now on their rentals, sorry, I just said the name, but it's not standard no more. Meaning that you have to buy it. So I look at the policy, I'm like, why don't we have law and ordinance? I reach out to the agent, he goes, well, it's not standard. It's not included anymore. I said, that's fine, but were you going to tell me that this is not included, or were you going to? Well, yeah, do you want it? F yeah, I want it. Of course I want it.
Yeah.
What do you mean? How much is it? Well, it's $20 for this property a year, $19 for this. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, when was he going to tell me? After we had a fire?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you offer this? And then when you ask me that, do I think one's better than another? I don't know anymore. I don't know which agents, but it's important to find one, hopefully, that you think knows what he's selling and understands policies.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are just salespeople, honestly, man.
I mean, we had a situation recently where one of our company vehicles was hit by a person, didn't have insurance, and we didn't have uninsured motorists on that vehicle. I say, why? Well, because you declined it. Well, I'm doing exactly what you tell me to do. If you tell me to accept it, I'll accept it. If you tell me to decline it, I'll decline it. But I don't understand the risk and calculations here. If you I will basically buy whatever you as my insurance person tells me. So in that case, I feel like, there was some misguidance, but generally I feel like we do get pretty good guidance. I got to ask about this law and ordinance insurance. From your perspective, also, you don't know much about the agents, because agents are very, very specific, whether captive or independent.
Yes.
But are there better insurance companies from your perspective that are easier to work with, that are more communicative, that are more likely to pay out the claim when you get involved?
100%. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can go down the list. I don't know if you want me to name names, but I mean,
who do we want? Top five carriers that are, if our clients are shopping insurance, who should they be looking at? And of course, the prices are going to differ, so some are going to be. But from your perspective of easiest to work with, because somebody might say, well, I can go with X and they're $1,000. I can go with Y and they're $2,000. Okay, that's part of the equation for sure. But in the event that you have a loss, if X at $1,000 is always going to deny, but Y at $2,000 is going to be much easier to work with and is going to pay, you probably want to make the decision to go with Y.
Yeah. So let me give you top five, and I don't mean easy is where they pay. When we do have claims with them, their premise or their whole thing is they want to work with us. They work well.
Yeah.
They come to agreement. They're adjusters. They don't fight. They don't BS claims. So top five, I would say Openly Insurance. And again, a lot of these you probably may know. Openly. There's Amica. Amica's a really good one. Openly, Amica. Of the ones you might know, Farmers is a really good one.
Okay.
Farmers, we still they handle claims very well. Trying to think who else. Got not many of our friends. If you want to go really expensive, there's obviously Chubb.
Mm-hmm.
If on the higher end for your insurance. Trying to think of anyone else that we've worked claims. That's those four. I can't think of anyone else.
Interesting you say Amica. Amica is super exclusive in who they work with. I mean, they're paying your credit and do much. My parents had Amica for a long time, and they loved Amica, and they said that every person they worked with, which is rare for somebody insured to say, I love my insurance agent. They are great to work with from top to bottom. But they had Amica for a long, long time, and always always rave
We
about.
work claims in Texas. Remember when a couple of years ago they had that pipe with all the pipes frozen in Texas?
Yep.
We dealt with so many claims. We just got it was influx of all these claims that came in. All the claims we had with Amica, it was the greatest claim work together. It was so great working with them in terms of, Andy, what are you thinking of the damage? This is what's damaged. This is what we see. You want to say, no, just get us some documents. Let's go through this together on the phone. We were settling claims in minutes.
Yeah.
It was just super easy. It was enjoyable. And that's how claim is supposed to be. We're not, again, man, when we handle a claim, we're not going to try to scheme or pull some kind of shady stuff. It's not. It's just what's in the policies we could go after, right? But our job is to prove the claim. So if we prove the claim and the adjuster goes, yeah, I agree with it and pay for it, that's how it's supposed to work. Not, no, we don't pay for this. We're not going to do this. Hey, prove this. Hey, we'll pay you this when this happens. Like, and that's how most insurance companies are going.
But that would be one of the benefits of our clients or any other person, any other insurer, to work with somebody like AllCity, where an adjuster knows, hey, we're operating with a good faith counterparty. We're not, AllCity has a good reputation. We know that they're not trying to do anything shady. They're not trying to pull the wool over ours. All they're trying to do is get fair representation for their client, the insured, and we're trying to get fair representation for our client, the insurance company. So if you two go into it to square off or battle, knowing that each of you has essentially the best interest of your clients in mind, but also are fair, and of good integrity and character, it must be much easier to do. Whereas they don't know whether you're, State Farm looks at me and goes, I don't know if Matt's a shady guy. He's trying to pull something over on this claim. And, he's claiming that it was water damage from a storm. He went up with a hammer on the roof and actually punctured a hole. So it looks like you're starting from a better place fundamentally if they know AllCity's a good operator and, they just trust the ingoing assumptions when they start.
Yeah, I like to believe we have a great reputation. We're in over 35 states. We keep getting more. We're in over 35 states. I like to think, again, adjusters or insurance companies have a good view on us. Again, we're not pulling anything shady. But now every adjuster is different, right? Some adjusters go into it and they'll call you and say, why'd you hire an adjuster? You don't need one you want. And usually those guys, that's the claims we get paid the most, like settle for the most, honestly. And then you have adjusters who will call and say, oh, shoot, you got AllCity, you got Andy. Oh, cool. This is going to be, because most adjusters, if they're smart, if I'm working on the insurance side, right, and I know they hired you as a public adjuster, well, I'm like, okay, awesome. So now Matt's going to get me all my estimates, everything. I can then discuss it with him, negotiate it. He's going to do 90% of my work. I just got to go back and forth and just agree with him, disagree on some stuff, and come to an agreement. That's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Some like we just had, like I said, in Michigan City, those 9 roofs. So 6 of them are with Travelers, and 3 are with Erie. The Travelers ones, adjuster came, smooth, everything went well, right? The other adjuster, again, and I'm not just saying it's because he was working for that insurance company. Every adjuster, because you can have another adjuster from that same insurance, and he's bad or he's good. The other adjuster comes out for the other 3 roofs, and we're like, hey, we already measured the roofs. We got the photos. We have everything. Like, your file is done. You get paid, per asking for. So the quicker you get done, the quicker you get paid. You're out of state. You're cat. Yeah. That's what happens. He goes, no, I do my own stuff. I'm going to go in the car and take me about 3 hours for each roof. I'm just like, why are you being so conflict? Like, we're here to help you. So again, it just depends on the adjuster, right? That's the guy that just makes life difficult for himself and everyone else.
Yep. Understood. Person to person. Let's talk brass tacks for a second. How does AllCity get paid? How do you guys get paid? Where does it come from?
Yeah. So it's contingency. So we don't have any retainers or any other fees. Our fee starts at 10%, and that's contingent on what we recover. So whatever the final settlement is, it's 10% of that. And that gets paid. Once the claim gets paid, that's when we get a check issued from our client.
So essentially the insurance company pays the insurer, the insurer cuts you a check for the 10% or whatever
for the fee. Be. Correct. So now let's say you called us, you had a claim for 6 months, you got denied, or you got really lowballed, and now we got to come in and investigate for 6 months. We might charge a higher fee based on how much work or where the claim is. But if from all our clients that we start right from the beginning, it's 10%. With some of our big investors, what we do is we have a sliding scale. So as this claim goes up, actually our fee goes down. So
interesting.
Yeah, it works out. Again, there's nothing for our clients to lose. We could charge a lot more. but that's kind of our flavor. A lot of states cap PAs. I know Texas caps public adjusters at 10% on initial claims, and some other states. So,
yeah. How do people reach out to you directly if they want to learn more about whether public adjusting is a reasonable fit for their needs and one of their claims?
Yeah, so they can look us up at allcityadjusting.com. For your listeners, I'll leave them with my direct phone. It's my cell phone. If they ever have a question, want to reach out, no problem. It's 708-655-4186. That's direct cell. So if they have questions, they could text me, call me. I'm more than happy to talk to people about public adjusting and what we do.
Love it. Andy Gurczak's the founder of AllCity Adjusting, a licensed public adjusting firm with a focus on making sure their clients get what they truly deserve from their insurance claims. Over the last decade, Andy has not only protected thousands of people from being defrauded, but he's also helped them receive more money than what their insurance companies initially offered. Andy grew up with the family motto, if you're going to do something, do it right or don't do it at all. And he carries that sentiment with him now in his business, AllCity Adjusting. Andy, thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate you educating our listeners on what a public adjuster does.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Same Day Podcast. Tune in to a new show each week and be sure to subscribe to get future episodes.